Hi, I'm Elisa Casas. The Golden Podcast is an extension of my Instagram presence where, as an accidental influencer, I talk about vintage jewelry and share personal stories about my life in New York City. Join me and my guests as we explore, with humor and honesty, timeless topics about the female experience. Dating, relationships, work-life balance, aging, personal growth, fashion, travel, culture, food, sustainability, and of course, jewelry. Hey everybody, welcome to Golden with Elisa Casas. I'm Elisa. I'm the owner of ChelseaGirlNYC.com, where I sell antique and vintage jewelry. So I'm here today with Beth Nierenberg. She's my very, very close friend, and I love her very much. She's also a licensed therapist. She's also my therapist. And I just wanted to show you what I'm wearing today. You know, I always like to choose pieces that have some kind of symbolism. And we're going to be talking about breakups today. So I'm wearing a few pieces that symbolize rebirth. Emeralds do, snake ring. I'm wearing an onyx ring that they say onyx absorbs emotional pain. I don't know if it does, but
it's worth a try.
It's worth a try, right? But what you're really going to love is that I'm wearing 3 of Nana's bangles, my grandmother's bangles. And you knew Nana, and you knew how she always wore her bangles. And they always meant so much to me, and they just make me feel like she's protecting me, you know?
I do.
And then on the other side of breakups is, of course, you want to believe that there's still love out there, that it can happen again for you. So I'm wearing my parents' wedding bands. My mom passed away 10 years ago, and my dad just didn't want to wear his anymore after she died. So he gave it to me, and I love that they're together, you know? And I always wear her band when I go to Spain because she loves Spain. And I always wear my dad's on my thumb. But I don't know if you know this, but they were supposed to get married in Morocco. My dad was stationed there in the 1960s, and they bought these rings in Morocco. And when they got to the church, they wouldn't let them get married because my mom was Greek Orthodox and my dad was Catholic.
No way.
And they flipped out and they didn't know what to do. So they had already bought these wedding bands. They were engraved. They were at the church ready to get married. They ended up having to fly back to Madrid and get a dispensation from a bishop. Basically, they had to pay off this bishop, and they paid him off, and they eloped. They got married in Madrid.
I never knew that story.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
And Ruby and I always like to pass the church where they got married. My dad loves to tell the story of how his mom, she was furious that they eloped, and she literally tricked his friend, who was the best man or the witness, tricked him into telling her where the wedding was. And she showed up like something out of a movie, like in a taxi that like screeched to a halt and ran out and like ended up in the wedding because that's who my grandmother was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you're wearing your mom and dad's rings together. That's
I do
really
too.
sweet.
Yeah, I do too. That's just a really nice reminder of true love. They really loved each other. Yeah, they were married for 50 years. And then I'm wearing this solitary diamond ring, which just basically symbolizes diamond is the strongest stone, and it's one stone, and it symbolizes basically being alone and being strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I've given it a lot of thought. Like, I'm 60 years old. Is there another chapter for me? Am I going to meet someone? I don't feel ready even a year later, but I can't help but wonder, like, did this happen for a reason? Like if it did, that's a wonderful way of looking at things,
Right.
because it's a positive way of moving forward. But, breakups, when you go through one, especially one as cataclysmic, that was the word you used, as cataclysmic as this one, like you just feel like this is it. Like, how am I ever going to come back from this? But looking back on my other breakups, And, some were more serious than others, obviously, but it's interesting how different every breakup is. I was married to Ruby's dad for 16 years. We were together for like 22. And that marriage ended, like when people ask me, I'm not even really sure what to say. But what I say is just, it's kind of more of a conventional breakup that people get married and they think they're going to be together forever and they have kids and then they kind of grow apart or want different things. Or for me, it was moving forward when Ruby was not in the house anymore, that I couldn't really imagine just the two of us. That was really the thing that pushed me.
That happens to a lot of people, that post-parenting glue that
Yeah.
holds you together. And for a lot of people, once that fades, they're not sure what connects them anymore.
Well, every single guy I've dated, that's what's happened. They were married for 25 years. The kids went to college and they looked at each other and said, uh-oh, like this isn't working anymore.
Right.
So, I think that was more of a conventional divorce. My second divorce was not conventional at all. It was sort of this idyllic relationship and we were so happy. And then one day it was literally over. When I found out, that he wasn't the person I thought he was. And I always say it was the easiest decision of my life. And I know that sounds crazy, but, I've always chosen myself. I've never had any problem with putting myself first, especially in a relationship. And I just knew that I couldn't move on from that. So even though it was super painful and difficult and I mean it was awful. It was like I don't even know how to describe it. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep um for weeks and weeks and
I remember one of the most vivid changes in you that was remarkable to me is your life has a cadence to it that's much higher cadence than a lot of people's. You never stop moving, you never stop traveling, you never stop going to rest. Like you live a New York life. And while you were healing and recovering or falling apart and then healing and recovering, the loft became like a womb
yeah.
for you. And you even said on a few occasions, this was like the place you felt safest and you did not. I remember saying to you, do you want to go to London for a
No, I didn't
weekend?
want to travel. I just wanted to be in my easy chair, like, just feeling the weight of the safety of this place.
Well, because nothing else felt like it was supposed to. I
Right.
mean, it made sense 100%,
Yeah.
but it was remarkable because it was such a departure from how you normally live your life. And I see it a little bit as kind of a metamorphosis, right? You built this little cocoon around yourself so that you could fall
But I
apart.
didn't isolate. I mean,
No,
and that's the thing. Like from day one, I knew I was going to be okay. I didn't say that to myself. I knew deep down, I was like, this is going to be painful. This is going to be difficult, but I knew that I was going to be fine. I was just going to have to get through it.
Mhm.
They say that the only way out is through. And I knew that. But I also knew that I had to do everything right. Well, that's my personality, right? It's like, okay,
Shocking.
well, I'm going to have the best healing of anyone ever.
I am going to read every article,
Like,
every
I'm
book.
going to find the best therapist, not just a good one, the best therapist. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I did. I did everything right, at least right for me. Um, and my first marriage, it was more my choice. So it wasn't difficult emotionally, but it was very difficult logistically because we had a child, we had businesses together, we had a home together. It was difficult to separate. So my second divorce was easy logistically because we had a prenup And I love to tell people because I love seeing their reactions. My entire divorce cost $300. All they had to do was take the prenup and put it in, like cut and paste it into the divorce agreement. And that's how easy it was for me to get divorced.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
emotionally, it was horrific. Emotionally, it was the most painful, horrible experience of my life.
Breakups are different. Also, like, as someone who's known you forever, you're different people in
Mhm.
different breakups.
Yes.
You become a different person a different version of yourself in each relationship. As someone who knows your history, I can't pull up information about the end of your first relationship anywhere in my
Yeah.
head.
Isn't that
Like,
interesting?
you were married and then you weren't married. Like, I don't remember talking to you. I don't remember processing it. I just remember you being married, not being married. Your second divorce took the wind out of everything. Um, and had your first divorce was an evolution, your second divorce was falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
As someone who watched it happen in slow motion.
And it reverberated with my family, my friends, business associates. I mean, it's crazy to think that he lost so many friends and now they're friends of his are now my friends. And like everyone is still in shock. Like I'm not really talking about it that much anymore, but if it comes up in conversation, my friend Janet or someone will be like, I still can't believe this happened. I still can't believe it. I'm like, you can't believe it. Like,
Try being me.
yeah, like some mornings I wake up and I'm just like, did this really happen?
How did
Like,
we get here?
it's so crazy.
Yeah. It felt like a loss to me.
Oh, well, that's the whole thing about breakups. That they're basically about grief, and I had to go through all the stages and you're never done. I don't know that you're ever done grieving entirely, but and what do they say? It's not fluid, that like you think you're past one
It's not
stage.
linear
It's
at
not
all.
linear, right? I have gotten to a place of acceptance, but it took 2 years. And I don't feel ready for like a new relationship. I don't feel ready to like give my heart again. I'm kind of happy being on my own right now. Like, this is the way my life is, and it's a good life and
Mhm.
it's fine. And I don't need a man, but I also wonder if that's just something that's never going to happen again, or
Do you really think that?
yeah, I do. I do.
That makes my
But
heart
I,
hurt.
but I feel like everyone thinks that when they break up with someone.
For sure.
I mean, how can
You've
you
never been single.
imagine? I haven't been single since I was 19, 18,
I know.
18.
I watched. You've never been single.
I mean, I've had moments.
Brief ones.
Yeah, very
Brief
brief
ones.
moments.
But maybe the reason for this pause is because you're becoming a version of yourself that can exist differently in your next relationship. You don't need a man.
Right.
You are financially independent. You
Thank
are
God.
emotionally independent.
Thank
You
God this
own your
happened when
home.
it did, because if it had happened a couple of years ago, I might have lost this loft. I might have not been able to pay my bills. I mean, in a way, even though it was so horrible, I feel very lucky that it happened when it did. So I'm bragging about how my divorce cost $300, but I haven't mentioned how much therapy cost. Now, to his credit, my second ex-husband paid for it.
Which is delightful.
Okay. It's not delightful.
It's delightful.
He had to pay for it. Like,
okay.
like he had to pay for it. He did stop at one point and I continued for a little while longer, but I cannot believe what therapy costs these days.
I can.
So my first marriage, I went to therapy for very different reasons. For my first marriage, I had horrible guilt. I felt so, I don't know if you like remember any of this.
No.
I felt so guilty, Beth, not about Ruby as much as my ex. Like,
Why?
I just felt terrible. I just felt terrible. Like it was my first marriage and I felt like it was all my fault and I couldn't reconcile that I wanted to end it. And hurting people. And I'll never forget, I was in LA and I read an article in the LA Times. I was with my friend Deborah at Steffi's house, and it was about Esther Perel's new book, Mating in Captivity. And I read this review and I was like, oh my God, I have to read this book. Like, it's completely my philosophy about relationships. And I can't believe she's verbalizing it. So when I got back to New York and I told Deborah that I was going to look for a therapist, she said, why don't you call Esther? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to call Esther Perel and ask her if she'll see me as a patient. And she's like, well, it's worth a try. And I'll never forget, it was my birthday. I was out on the deck. I was sitting in the sun and I called her and she said, when can you come in?
That's a very Elisa thing to do.
It's totally like what happens to me.
It's a very Elisa thing to do. In fact, I actually think, didn't you reach out to her or her husband this time?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I knew she wasn't going to see me because now she's like a superstar and she's like touring the world and she's, she deserves it. She's a fantastic therapist. But I was saying about what it cost. I mean, this is many years ago. This is 16, 17 years ago, but I'll never forget. It was $220 per session. And I paid her in cash because I had my business at that point and I would get cash for my business. And the irony is that I ended up not paying a penny because I got money from 9/11 because I lived below Canal Street and they were just giving money away. They were like, if you saw a therapist after 9/11, we'll pay for it. And I was like, well, I wasn't going to the therapist because of 9/11, but okay, I'll apply. And like I ended up getting everything paid for.
That's wild.
And then my second therapist, I really needed a specialist because I went through this horrible trauma and she did EMDR therapy. What does EMDR stand for?
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
It was fascinating.
It's very hard to explain.
It's so hard to explain because it sounds like BS. I mean, it really does. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it sounds
It's
like
woo.
something someone made up, but I experienced it. And the way I describe it is almost like it's a surreal experience that almost feels like you're hallucinating a little bit. And the main thing about it is that you have to be 100% vulnerable. Like it's embarrassing. Okay. It's embarrassing. Like even just with my therapist, it was like, the first time I did it, within 1 minute, I was hysterical crying.
Right. Well, because it brings you back to the moment. That's the point.
Can you explain a little bit about what it is? Because you experience the trauma.
Right.
And it desensitizes you.
Right. So the way I talk about trauma is that if your trauma is hit with a Beyonce fan and it's pages and pages and the pages go flying everywhere and some person who has no idea what was going on comes in.
Did you just say a Beyonce fan?
A Beyonce fan. Like your hair's blowing back like a Beyonce fan.
At first I was like, what's
doesn't everybody call it a Beyonce fan? Anyway. And it's like somebody shoves all the information into the file drawers in no specific order. So the trauma is everywhere.
Yeah.
EMDR reorders it so that it's not all over you and it takes up a finite and specific place. So it literally desensitizes so that you're not walking around enervated.
Was like, just to simplify, is that it moves the trauma from one half of your brain to the other. So it's not like you forget it.
No.
But when you think of the trauma, you think of it in a very non-emotional, detached way versus like, that fight or flight when you think about something or something triggers you and your heart starts palpitating.
Right. So the thing about trauma is it's intrusive and it's like, and it puts you back in the moment of all the horrible feelings and you feel like you have no control. EMDR puts it in a container, moves it over and takes the teeth out so that you don't and end up back in that space
Yeah.
again. So you can acknowledge it and see it, but you don't have to be swimming in it.
I mean, it was life-changing. Have you ever done it?
I have not, but
You
I'm
have not.
planning on it.
It was life-changing. It's also, like, a little trendy, I'm not gonna lie, like, I hear about a lot of people doing it, but if it works, like, who cares why it works,
Right.
you know? Who cares why it works?
Often therapy trends happen because something actually works.
Right,
It's not just like some weird thing that happens. It
right.
works and people talk about it, and it's often word of mouth. And then it catches on, and somebody famous or important writes a book about it, and then everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
EMDR has been a successful treatment for trauma for a
And
very long
and
time.
I don't wanna disregard, like, talk therapy
Mhm,
because I did that for months before I did EMDR, like, she suggested it, I had never
mhm.
heard of it, but, like, talk therapy with a therapist is very different than talk therapy with a friend, you know? It's completely different, and I think that's why, like, I loved talking to you because you were a friend, but you were also a therapist, so
Right.
you were able to give me really great tools
For free.
for free. I mean, both of my therapists were like, when I say, like, they're great, like, I don't think there are 2 better therapists in the world. They helped me so much. But, you know, she kept reminding me, my 2nd therapist kept reminding me, "It's you. It's you. You're
Right,
willing to be vulnerable.
right.
You're willing to do the work." Like, she would give me homework, and I'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, I don't wanna do this homework." But as a matter of fact, she was the one that started me running, which was another thing that really helped me to heal.
Never saw that coming.
No. So, I always wanted to run. I always thought like, I'm not, like, the kind of person to go to a gym. I don't like group sports, but, you know, I'm turning 60. I better do something or I'm gonna atrophy. So, she said to me, she was like, "Next time we talk, I want you to do it once. Just do it once." But literally, when I did it once, I was hooked, and that was it,
I mean,
and
given
I haven't stopped in 2 years.
your personality style makes sense, but as someone who's known you forever, the idea of you running is really nowhere in my mind. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's
I
like,
think it does make sense because I run in my daily life. Like,
yes,
I run from one end of the loft to the other.
believe me,
Like, I hate
I
wasting
know.
time. I hate wasting time. Like, it's funny because now when I walk around the city, I feel like I'm moving so slowly, and I hate it.
Okay,
And sometimes I'll just be like, "You know what? I have to do this errand. I'm just gonna run there and back." And I
Elisa,
literally run.
what do you do when the weather's bad and you can't run outside?
Oh, yeah. So I run from one end of the loft to the other, back and forth until it's 3 kilometers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just have to say, when you showed me the Strava thing
Yeah.
with the line that went
Yeah.
back and forth up and down the loft, I was like,
No, when I commit to something, I'm gonna
you're
do
all in.
I'm gonna do it right.
You're
Okay?
all in.
I gotta heal, I'm gonna do it right.
I'm gonna run 3K in my
Yeah.
home. Yep.
So, can I talk about I have a list that I put together
I
of
love that you have a
things.
list.
Well, you know why? Because I think it can really help other people.
100%.
And I had to write it down because there are so many things, but these are the things that helped me to heal the most. And I think they're pretty universal. You know, I think there are things that other people can take from and it would be helpful for them. Um Embracing grief, like I never thought of it that way, but I realized that you really have to sort of strike a balance between feeling all the feelings, but not ruminating. And maybe you can talk about how not to, because believe me, I ruminated. But, you know, you don't want to just distract yourself and like get involved in another relationship and like think you're fine, but you're not fine. How do you do that? How do you feel it, but not ruminate?
So, I do have an answer because I've worked on that myself. I think going inside and recognizing that you're gonna have to feel the pain and be vulnerable and be sad, but it doesn't have to be all day, every day. Making a deal with yourself. I mean, what I did was very kind of cognitively behavioral. I segmented when I was going to allow myself to fall apart every single day. I had something going on in my life that was really felt like it was just all over me and I couldn't get it to stop. And so I made a deal with myself that every day at 5 o'clock, I literally
Seriously, you
I'm
scheduled
not
your
kidding.
grief.
I'm so not kidding.
Oh my God.
I did. Every day at 5 o'clock, made sure I went someplace where I could feel safe and vulnerable. And I just let myself, it was almost like a
Wow.
meditation
Mm-hmm.
without the guided imagery or telling
Right.
myself what I wanted to think about. I don't know if you remember, what was that movie with Holly Hunter about the news? Broadcast News.
Mm-hmm.
In Broadcast News, it's a really old movie. If you haven't seen it, you
I
should
have
watch
seen it.
it.
Yeah.
But she goes into a hotel room. She's this like badass broadcaster. Everybody's afraid of her. She goes into a hotel room, unplugs the phone, locks the door, closes the blinds, and literally ugly snot face
Yeah.
cries.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes is done. And she undoes the curtains, plugs in the
It's
phone.
cathartic. Oh yeah.
And so that's where I pulled that from, literally. And I allowed myself every single day, no matter what was going on, whether I wanted to or not, I allowed myself to feel all of the scared, sad feelings. And it made it not intrusive.
And limited. A
Limited.
limited amount of
I
time.
put it in a box and then
So
I would visit the
interesting.
box every day.
Um, I know this one is kind of funny, but I kept a list of bad things about my ex to ground me in reality.
I love that.
Now, when I say bad things, it could be anything. Like he had bad teeth, you know? He was a bad kisser. I know that sounds crazy. He wasn't bad in bed, but he was a terrible kisser. So interesting.
Yeah.
And the list was long. And, it's funny how you change the narrative when you lose something. Like when I was with him, everything was fine. I didn't care about that he couldn't kiss. But later it's like, yeah, like I'm kind of lucky I got out of that because he couldn't kiss. So you is that like something that you do? Is that like a survival
For sure.
mechanism? Like all of a sudden
Flip the script.
yeah,
Yeah.
you change your point of view about the entire relationship, whether it's little things or the whole thing. And you're like, oh, like maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe, it's a good thing.
I think it's your system kind of protecting you
Right.
and flipping the things that might have been at the bottom of the list to the top of the list. And when you're in something, you can allow those yummy feelings to override the yucky
Yeah.
feelings. But once you pull that curtain and you see those things that make it untenable,
Right.
you can't unsee them. And so they do move up on the list and they push down all of those other things.
Yeah. And the last year of our relationship was not as idyllic as the other
Which
years.
is the 1 year you were married.
Yeah. It was the 1 year. It was so crazy.
Sorry.
I mean, I cannot believe this is my life.
I'm sorry.
Because look at me. I'm just like a normal person. Like, how did this happen to me? We were together for 12 years. We got married, and a year later, we broke up.
A year later to like the
and
week.
people warned me. People were like, don't get married. Like, don't rock the boat. And I'm like, what are you talking
It didn't
about?
make sense to any of us that you were getting married.
It didn't?
Because you never
But we were
wanted
together
to get
forever.
married. I know, but you never wanted to get married again.
It's so funny.
So when you said you were getting married, we were all like, cool. Weird, but cool. Because you guys had such a like flow and it
Right.
wasn't uncomplicated.
Right.
Like you made a really complicated situation
I
work
know.
for 12 years.
Well, that year that we were married, the last year of our relationship, like now that I look back on it, there were all kinds of signs. Like
Mhm.
he was actually falling apart.
You told me later.
He was falling apart. Like and in my mind, he was having like a midlife crisis or a late in life crisis, which completely made sense. He was turning 60. He was retiring.
Mhm.
He had rheumatoid arthritis,
Right.
which had gotten very bad, and he had trouble walking. He got fat.
Right.
He was drinking a lot. So I just kind of chalked it up to,
Aging.
yeah. But then, of course, I found out why. So it was
So you were not just recovering from a breakup. Like, let's be real about it.
Mhm.
This list is about coping strategies, but it's not just breakup coping strategies. It's traumatic events
Yes.
it doesn't, it's generalizable to anything because you were recovering from two things, really: the trauma that you experienced and the loss of a
Right.
relationship.
Right.
So what's next on the list?
So another thing that I like to do is watch couples therapy. I love her.
Yep.
Just watching other couples sort of all the resentment and anger and hateful feelings
Mhm.
toward each other just made me feel so good to be single.
At least that's not
Like,
me.
I don't wish anything bad on these people, and I think it's great that they're trying to get help and that they wanna keep their marriages together, but I was like, "Oh, I don't have to deal with any of that anymore," you
For
know?
sure.
There was an article in The New Yorker that said, "Is divorce a catalyst for self-growth?" And I feel like it is because you can't experience the same level of self-growth when you're in a relationship. It's something that you really have to experience on your own. For example, as an analogy, it's different to travel alone than to travel with a person.
For
You
sure.
experience it in a completely different way. So I think it's really, trying to look at it positively,
Right.
which of course is what I was always trying to do. Like, well, what's good about this? Um, and I have to say, these 2 years have been incredibly important in terms of my self growth because I haven't been single since I was 19,
Right.
18.
So
So
you
all of
didn't
a
know what you were
sudden,
capable of.
yeah,
But I also think, and you and I have talked about this a lot, it's easier to rear window the perspective of, wow, this actually turned into an
100%.
opportunity. It's
100%.
impossible to feel the opportunity when you're drenched in the sadness.
Right.
And I think people often employ multiple coping strategies at the same time,
Hmm.
right? One of your coping strategies is information and education.
Hmm.
When this happened, you were hungry
Oh my
for
God. I got to
data.
the end of Google.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
literally got to the end of Google.
Right.
One day it was like, that's it. I'm like, Well, I've only read 10,000 articles. What do you mean that's it?"
Right.
Literally.
You were looking, and this a lot of people
For
do this,
answers, of
for
course.
answers and for an expert to explain what
Mhm.
happened.
I'm still looking. I
Right.
still wanna know why this happened.
Right, and that's universal.
Yeah.
It's universal, and often, like, in therapy, people are like, "I wish I could just ask him what happened. I wish I could just, like, get that little bit of," and I'm like, But it doesn't exist," right? That other person's ability to explain to you what happened isn't actually gonna make you feel better.
Right.
What you need to feel better is finding your core again. And so, yes, the hope, like as a therapist, part of my job, the part I love the most sometimes is holding the hope for someone who doesn't see it.
Mhm.
I'm sure your therapist had moments of like where she could see who you were before
Yeah.
the trauma
Yeah.
and could hold that for you. But when you're in the thick of it, you cannot hold the hope for yourself. So you're able to Monday morning quarterback the look at all the amazing things I've done in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But in month one, month two, month three, I could have said that 100 times and you would not have felt it.
No, but what I realize is the days that I feel good about myself are the days I care the least about the relationship ending. It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
for
It
sure.
completely correlates. And it's something you know intellectually, but to feel it is a completely different thing.
Right.
One of the other things that helped me the most, I mean, besides therapy, besides talking to friends, was doing things that I would not be doing if I were in the relationship. And running was one of them. Now, yeah, I could have been in a relationship and run also, but I didn't. The
Because you
point
didn't
is,
know you
I
needed it.
didn't. So that was something that I started doing that was completely my own. Collecting art. He thought it was a silly thing, a waste of money or whatever, but it brings me a lot of joy. And it's also, I'm doing it for investment purposes.
Right.
So I'm learning a lot about it. I'm going to a lot of art galleries. You know, I love to go to art galleries. I love to go to museums and just learning a lot about art and travel. Like I used to go to California. We had a long distance relationship and I used to go to California all the time. I don't have to go to California anymore. Like I am so sick of Northern California. Yes, it's pretty. Who cares? You know, I can go to Europe. I can go, you know, I just
Right.
went to Madeira. I can go to South America. I can go to Mexico. I can go anywhere I want. I do not have to go to California once a month.
A door closed,
Yeah.
many doors opened.
Yeah.
I also want to say, while we're talking about it, that I think one of the things that we grieve or that are so painful about the end of something is the loss of that identity. We should all, in a perfect world, have multiple identities. You have many identities. The only identity you lost is that of partner. But in that moment, it felt, like I said, cataclysmic. You allowed all of these other identities. You're now a runner. That's an identity you never
Hmm.
had before.
Right.
You're like a world traveler alone. You're an art collector. You weren't before.
Yeah.
So by losing
Right.
one
You're
identity,
gaining. It's balancing it
right,
out.
you made all
Yeah.
this room on your plate for new identities that I have watched you revel in,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And part of that whole idea that it's an opportunity for someone to become another
Yeah.
version of
This
themselves.
podcast, people, like,
Right.
would I have been doing this if I was in that relationship?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I've always been the type of person that I need a new thing. Like, I need a new thing in my life. It just feels good. It feels like it just feels like evolution. It feels like it's just adding to the person I am. You
Right.
know, it's
And
adding
the
more to the
becoming
person
is
I
never
am.
supposed to stop.
Right.
Like, that's one of the hard things about aging is I think we grow up thinking there's going to be this point where we just get it all
Right. Right.
and everything's going to make sense.
Well, that's what we thought when we were kids,
Right.
right?
But what I know at almost 60, which I know you know, is we don't know half of what we thought we did.
Yeah,
And so for you to be learning new tricks at 60 is a gift.
I know.
Right? That's as simple as it could be. You didn't have a list of coping strategies 2 years ago, but you do now.
I was scared to turn 60 and be alone. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I did not expect this to happen. And only a couple of weeks before I turned 60 did I suddenly feel excited about it. I'm like, wait a second. Like, my friend Dean died last year at age 59. Like, this is a gift. This is it's how could I not be grateful to get to this point? Like, why would I be fearful? Like,
You're choosing to be grateful though.
right.
That's hard for people.
Well, that's on my list.
Right.
Choosing.
Choosing.
Choosing optimism. You know, I have a tree on my block. It's across the street and it's a funny little block and there's only this one tree. And one day I went outside and I said, it's really a shame that there's only one tree on the block. And then another day I went outside and I said, wait a second, I'm lucky to have a tree on my block. And I always use that as an analogy for life. It's like, it's all about perspective. It's all about how we choose to look at things. And it really is a choice. It
For
really
sure.
is a choice. And when I find myself going to a negative place, I try to reprogram myself into thinking something positive. Like I'm still look, I'm not ready to say I'm glad this happened.
But this is not an either or
but
game.
right.
That's
right.
not how psychology and emotionality work.
Right.
Right? Terrible things can happen and there can still be moments of joy.
Right.
And people really struggle with that. The room in the back of my house, the stable,
Mm-hmm.
on the threshold of the door
Mm-hmm.
is a little piece of moss with a tree growing out of it.
Oh my God.
It's like this big,
Mm-hmm.
but every year she comes back and this little piece of moss grows back. It doesn't make any sense. It's in a
Right.
metal door threshold
Right.
attached to a brick
Right.
building. Every year it dies and every year it comes back. But to me, every time I see it, I smile
Yeah.
because it feels like you can thrive no matter what. And it's a choice. And you, over the last 2 years, have repeatedly made the choice to center yourself in gratitude and thriving. And you didn't have to do that. You could have just stayed in that place. Not you, but lots of people
Yeah,
have a hard time swimming to the other end.
I can see it. I can see why it's hard because you have to force yourself, and it's hard. It's hard.
Right. And you were sad, you were devastated, you were crushed. I never felt like you were suffering from a major depressive disorder.
No.
And that's different,
Yeah.
right? If diagnostically you're in the middle of a major depression, forcing yourself to thrive is
Yeah.
not on the menu,
Right. Right.
right? You were not in the middle of a major depressive episode. You were in the middle of a catastrophic event.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between those two things. And you did allow yourself to gain perspective. I think it's why you called so many of us to let us support you, because it allowed you to borrow our perspective.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need that.
Yeah. The other thing on my list, and this is so important, is no contact. NC. I call it
We
NC.
talked about that.
I mean, I touched on this earlier, but it changes your whole life. Like so love is like a drug. It actually rewires your brain,
For sure.
and it's really hard. Like when you have a person and when you think about all the things that love is, and your thoughts automatically go to that person, it you have to rewire your whole brain, and it takes a long time. It takes a really long time. But if you have any kind of contact, and I know this from experience, like he was contacting me all the time, and I liked it because I felt loved,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to lose that. Feeling loved is an
Precious.
incredible feeling, and I had to make this decision to lose that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I know he still loves me, whatever, but I had to lose him telling me that to move on.
You needed to stop needing it
Yeah. Yeah.
and no contact, even for a specific amount of time. I try to talk to people about the fact that no contact doesn't have to be forever,
Yeah.
because making that decision is too hard. But no contact for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, it's easier to digest
Yeah.
and like recognize it as a strategy, because
It is a strategy, and I
right,
love to strategize. That's
right.
my favorite thing in the
Yeah,
world.
very much so.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
a strategizer. Strategist?
You're strategic.
Oh my God. One of the choices I made was to view an uncertain future as exciting, not terrifying. Again, you choose. I felt scared about the future. What if I can't pay my bills? Who's going to take care of me? All those thoughts when you break up with someone. But I chose to see it as something exciting and unknown, and also something that I could create. I could
Right.
create my future.
It didn't have to happen to you.
Right. Um, that was very helpful to me. Um, Work, let me tell you, work is probably the best thing in the world because it made me feel financially secure. And that was my biggest fear.
Right.
So the more that I worked and the more money I made, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be okay. Do you know who Keith McNally is? He owns Baltazar and
Oh, yeah.
Pastis, a bunch of restaurants in New York. He just wrote his memoir. It's brilliant. I loved it. But he talks about when he had a stroke and how, a lot of friends were suggesting that he take time off of work and just hang out with his family. He said work was the thing that helped him the most
Right.
because he felt like he had
Purpose.
purpose. And I know that when people retire, they suddenly feel like they have no purpose. So work, it was like I woke up every morning, I worked my fucking ass off.
As you do
I
every
made
day.
as much money as I could possibly make. And then when I went to bed at night, it was like, oh, maybe I'm going to be okay.
Well, I
So that
think
was very helpful.
yeah, I think in the uncoupling, right, you have to find drivers that
Hmm.
excite you and make you wanna wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
You're maybe one of the hardest working people I know. I
I
mean, I
work
say to
so
you all the
hard.
time, "Can you
I
sit
work
down and
so
close your
hard.
laptop?"
Yeah.
You work 24 hours a day. Your
I
phone
actually do.
dings constantly. But for some people, that would appear as a burden. For you, it's juice. It is
Well,
gas
and
in
I
your
love
tank.
what I do.
Right,
I mean, look, I'm basically, my work is my hobby. I'd
right,
be doing it anyway,
right.
but yeah, I love what I do.
Yeah.
So that makes it obviously easier. Yeah, it's there's so many things. Besides therapy though, I think the most important thing was being able to lean on my friends. I cannot stress enough how important that is. And I know my ex didn't have that.
Right.
He had very few friends, and you know how men are, they don't really talk about their feelings. Um his friend Jay, who I became very very close with over the years, he was talking to me about the breakup. He wasn't talking to my ex. He was talking to me. Like I was crying to him and he was giving me advice and helping me. He was like my rock because he had insight that nobody else really had.
Right. Because we were all your friends
Right.
singularly.
Right. And that was incredible to have that, to, first of all, not have lost him in the divorce,
Which is
which
very unusual.
very unusual, very unusual. He's managed to somehow balance both of these friendships. It's fascinating to me.
Well, I don't know if you've ever gotten one of these emails or one of these text threads from somebody in your life who's gotten divorced or broken up, but I have that say, I am asking you to defriend, block, and not communicate with my.
Seriously?
Uh huh. And I'm always a refuse Nick. I'm like, you don't get to tell me what to do.
Wow.
But isn't that like people are like, choose a side right now and I need to know which one it is? It's bizarre.
I thought it just kind of happened naturally.
It does, but
Okay.
also in this world of
No, I've
social
never had
media,
that.
people are like,
Wow.
undo all ties with my
Right.
other because you don't want that other person to have purview into your life through
Right.
somebody
I
else,
agree.
right?
I wouldn't like
But
it, but I don't know that I would ask.
asking people to do it is weird. But like back to Jay, I have to say the position he was able to take to me is kind of exceptional, especially for a man of his age who probably grew up the way he did.
Yeah.
Everybody chooses a side and you go maybe with the person you were originally friends with,
I mean, they
which
were
would have
friends
been
for 40 years.
right. So I would be interested in knowing how he did that.
Yeah. Well, we can talk to him. I'm going to call him later and we're going to ask him how he was able to do that. So I thought we should talk to Jay, my friend Jay. I know you never met him, but Jay is one of the people that really helped me get through my second divorce. And it's interesting because he happens to be the best friend of my ex. And he's somehow managed to stay friends with both of us, which I find very interesting because you really have to walk a very fine line
And he
to
is
do that.
very friendly with both of you. It's not
Very. Like, he
casual.
is one of my closest friends. I met Jay 15 years ago, obviously, when I met my ex. And we just became very fast friends. And in a way, we were even closer than my ex was with him because you know how guys are, right? But Jay would like call me and want to talk about his new girlfriend. Every time I went to California, I always organized, a dinner or wine tasting or whatever with Jay. And we would have these long conversations about life. But when my ex and I broke up, he was like a rock for me.
I remember.
I mean, you were, Steffi was, and Jay was that third person.
Which is funny to me that part of the triumvirate, I don't even know.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Okay, so I'm going to call Jay and see what he has to say about this kind of unconventional friendship that he has with both me and my ex. Um, we've talked about it, but I'm really curious what he has to say. Jay, thank you for doing this, first of all. I know you're a busy, busy man. My friend Beth is here, and we're doing the podcast together. And I know you guys have never met, but she knows a lot about you.
Hi, Jay.
And hopefully you will meet her one day. So, we're talking about breakups and obviously how difficult they are. And you know more than almost anyone in my life how difficult my last breakup and my divorce was. And I was saying to Beth that you were really a rock for me. Like, I know I've told you many times how grateful I am that basically that you stayed friends with me, because I know that when people break up, most people have to take sides. And you refused to do that. We had a separate friendship. We had a very close friendship. And I'm just dying to know how you were able to navigate this. It's very unconventional, it's very difficult, but you've managed to stay friends with both of us.
I think for me, it was, and it's funny, in anticipation of the show, I contacted a friend of mine who has managed to stay friends with me and my ex-girlfriend through the breakup we had. And the lesson I'm learning from talking to her and my own experience is compassion. Just having a lot of compassion for the people involved. Now, compassion doesn't mean defending behavior. It just means having understanding and caring for, two people that you love very much. And to the extent possible, being able to be a good friend without judging.
And I think for me, because you were friends with my ex first, so I just felt nothing but gratitude that you were allowing yourself to stay friends with me. Whereas he would expect it. So for me, it was like I experienced so much loss that not losing you was so important to me when everything first went down. And you did show so much compassion to me, and I mean so much good advice and insight that in a way nobody else could have done because you knew him so well.
Well, thank you. It's important to me personally to be a compassionate person. I really try to do that in my life. And I think in both sides of this, I've been the friend and I've been the person seeking the middle friend. And I think as the middle friend, you don't have to abandon people. That doesn't mean you condone their behavior. You can be very, very and ultimately critical of their behavior, but still have compassion for the people involved and that the pain that they're going through. And I think having that ear, being that warm ear, not judging and throwing relationships out of the window is an important thing to do. And I really appreciate in my ex-girlfriend relationship how our mutual friend didn't throw me out the window, didn't toss me away.
And logistically, is it difficult? I mean, to this day, it's been a couple of years since we broke up and a year since I've been divorced. Logistically, for example, I remember one time you said to me, be careful what you say because things you say to me could get back to him. And you didn't say it in a nasty way. You said it in a realistic way that, look, if you say something, I might repeat it or it might get to him somehow. And I took that to heart. I appreciated that you told me that. I thought it was very honest. And I'm sure it goes the other way, that knowing that you're in the middle, I think we both are kind of cautious about what we say. But on the other hand, I felt like in terms of my feelings and emotional support that I needed, I could be very honest with you.
Yes. I mean, details of his life and what he's doing, that's out of bounds. I mean, and in fact, I want to come back to this theme. The mutual friend that I referenced before, when I asked her about her perspective, she says it's important to have boundaries.
Correct.
I think that's one of the things, and I think that's really, really true. There are topics that I can't discuss with you, and I can't discuss with him. And I don't. And both of you respect the boundaries that I set in terms of what I'm comfortable talking about and what I'm not comfortable talking about. And I applaud you, because I think it's very easy to be in your situation and ask, you want to know, and there are not many conduits to finding out information, but you've respected my boundaries, and so has he, and that's made it easier for me to, maintain the friendships I have with both of you.
No, and I think I also instinctively knew that getting information about him through you would be harmful to me. Like, I don't follow him on Instagram. I don't Google him. To me, having no contact is helping in my healing. So, I say this to you jokingly, but I was always saying, don't talk about him at all unless he's dead in the hospital, or, unless something serious happens to him. And you've abided by that. And I feel good about that.
I think, there has to be separation time, and it's really hard to do. I mean, there has to be time where there's no contact, and you have to break that bond that you created over years, and you have to get to the other side, and the only thing that can get you there is time.
No, and that's when my healing really took a turn. He was contacting me constantly, and it was exactly a year ago on my birthday when he contacted me, and I told him, do not contact me again. And it wasn't like to be mean. It really was for my own mental health. I knew that him constantly contacting me, telling me he loved me, telling me he was sorry, was not helping me. It was hurting me, and it was keeping me from healing. So it was a very hard decision, because what can I say? Like, it's nice to know somebody loves you, but I knew it was not healthy for me. Isn't that fascinating about Jay? Like, that he's been able to stay friends with both of us? It's so crazy.
It's crazy, and it's
I
amazing
don't
that
know if I would be able to do that. I've never been in a position to do that. Have you?
I don't think so.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so, because people often want you to choose sides. So it is exceptional. He is exceptional.
So one of the things that has helped me the most is I keep telling myself that this is not my whole story. It's just a chapter.
Right.
And that has been incredibly helpful, because I've had a lot of chapters in my life, as you know.
You have.
Like, I was a photographer, then I was in the music business, then I opened my stores, then I opened my cafe, then I started selling jewelry. Like, first marriage, second marriage. I've had a lot of chapters in my life. So there's really no reason to think that everything's over. Like, I'll have another chapter. I don't know what it is.
Right.
That, and that uncertainty is so difficult, right?
Right.
Like, I hate uncertainty. I
Right.
hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Everybody
I can't
does.
stand not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next year,
But you have a podcast now. Like, this is a piece of that.
It is.
Like, your openness to even thinking about this as something that was never on your bingo card.
No.
And here we are sitting in your living room.
Like everything in my life, it's not like this was my goal. It was just an opportunity that presented itself. I was out to dinner with my friend Bon Bon, and he literally looked at me and was like, you should have a podcast. And I thought it was the craziest thing I ever heard.
You called
in
me.
My life.
You were like, is this bananas? And I was like,
and now,
no.
Now I'm
not
here
really.
doing it.
Yep.
That's what's so interesting. That something can be a thought in your head, and the next thing you know, you're doing it. And that's the person I want to be. I want to be that person. I want to be the person that I want to be alive. I want to do new things. I want to experience as much as I can experience. So I kind of just make that the priority and go with it. And even if it's something that scares me or it's out of my comfort zone, like, who cares? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? No one's going to listen to the podcast. Okay, who cares?
Right.
Like, it's so fun to be here with you and talk about the things we're talking about. That's
Right.
enough for me.
Right.
That honestly is enough for me.
I think for me, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, be afraid and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the midst of your despair and your sadness, be afraid, but let yourself have a little dream or think about some kind of opportunity that might excite you that has nothing to do with what you're going through. And let yourself, I watched you call me and tell me this sounded crazy and then get really excited and send me a 200-page document of thoughts you had in the shower. So, and here we are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let yourself dream.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. I love doing this with you.
Me too.
Because like this kind of friendship is so rare. And to be able to talk to someone who, like, you've known all my boyfriends, right from the start. Remember? My
Yep.
college boyfriend.
All of them.
Oh my God. Like, to think back and think you knew all these people and the person I was when I was
Right.
with them it's pretty fascinating.
Wildly different.
Yeah. So thank you, my bebe, my
Thank you,
friend,
my lily.
for being here with me and talking about a pretty difficult subject. But talking always helps.
Always.
And it feels good. It feels cathartic. Thank you for tuning in to the most recent episode of Golden. I'm Elisa Casas. You can find me at chelseagirlnyc.com, on Instagram at Tales from the Junk Pile, or chelseagirl.nyc. Please subscribe. Please tell somebody that you think would like our podcast to listen, and we'll see you next time.